Welcome, everybody, to the Big Question with SnG podcast. I'm Karan Talwar. I'm not, but I have replaced him. He is out somewhere for a smoke, and I'm taking over.
Finally, we get to see Karan with his accent. You know, because Karan always has stories about America. Karan, you can come in now. The joke is over. The audience knows that it's not you.
Fellow Taklu.
Yes. What's really great is we found a replacement.
Yeah.
Who's also
in case.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
You
great.
just have to fly me down.
like from the back, they both look the same.
I'm sorry, guys. I
Okay,
cannot
I don't
be
know.
replaced. I'm irreplaceable.
Irreplaceable.
Good,
like
but that
Beyonce.
is Rajiv Satyal, stand-up comedian from LA who's touring right now in India. Rajiv, did I do a good job of your introduction?
I think that's pretty good.
That's
You got
pretty
the
good.
name right, and I am touring
I got the
India.
name right. He's touring
That's good.
India.
Those are all facts.
And he's been doing comedy for 12, 15 years.
Yeah,
He came
yeah.
here. He came to Bangalore really early on. Like 5 years ago? 4 years ago?
09. So the
9
beginning
years
of the comedy scene, like when
Mm-hmm.
it hadn't even really started. So 09, and then I came back in 2012 with Make China at War with Azhar Usman and Hari Kondabolu, and then came back again 2015, and then here I'm here again.
Today's topic is a question
Why
we
are
get.
bald men better than men with hair?
Okay.
Well, we're more virile. That's one
Yeah,
thing.
exactly.
That's
High
a lot
level of
of it.
testosterone.
That's right.
The wives are smiling. You guys, what's
We
up?
have nothing to add to this.
Because you're not married or because you're not bald?
Both.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's good. Both of
So
them.
today's topic is a question we get asked quite a bit. Like,
Why are you so
apart from that, the next
Okay,
question.
there.
The
Even
second
if you're
one.
married.
Karan's again in one of his special
Yeah.
moods. I don't
He woke up
understand.
from the wrong side of the bed today.
Well, we talked about jokes you can't tell, and so
Yeah.
that you probably couldn't say that.
Oh, in
America
India, you
right
can still
now, right?
you can get away with that in India right
I
now.
know, and
Yeah.
you can fat shame here. I
Yeah,
don't, you can't
yeah.
fat shame anymore in America. And I really miss that.
Oh, yeah?
You can't make fun of fat
Damn.
people. You'll get in a lot of trouble.
still would
Okay,
do
so
it.
I want to
Yeah,
know.
I still like to.
Okay, let me just tell them the question. The
Yeah,
question
okay,
is,
good question.
how do we write jokes? Like, what do you keep in mind when you were to write a joke or a new set?
AIDS pull-out is not a joke. by the way. I just let you know.
So, well, I mean, why do you think there's a difference? So, I mean, you like the
See,
premise
like,
of the question
like
is
right
you've
now,
kind of already,
I mean, not that I'm a political comedian, but you can't do a Modi joke here. You just can't.
I
Okay,
do
well,
Modi
more
jokes.
like people
I do
won't
Modi
laugh?
jokes
Not true, yeah.
all the time.
On stage as a comic, very very few people are actually doing it and putting
Kamra
it
does
out
a
there.
great job.
On stage he does.
On
Has
stage,
he put it out?
He
Yeah,
put a
he's
Modi
put it out.
video
He's put it out.
Yeah, he does
Okay.
a podcast regularly, which is basically Arnab and Modi bashing. So no, I say to me there is no topic that you shouldn't touch.
Okay.
If it is funny, if it is so there are in our country the only problem is you risk the thing of an FIR and not just an FIR
Yeah, I'm
in
saying
Bombay.
in that nobody's going to come and shoot me, but there is
No, they might, but
they
I'm
might
just
also.
saying-
You might
I
get
don't want to
beaten
put
up,
this
though.
idea in their head.
Oh yeah,
You might get beaten up.
That's
Yeah.
people have come close to those.
I'd rather
those
get
kind
shot than beaten up.
of- Yeah.
Yeah, and you
Yeah, because at least then you're a martyr. In the other
Yeah,
case, you're
exactly.
a wimp.
I don't
Like
want-
you couldn't beat him up.
Exactly. That you nailed. That's exactly the reason.
I mean, no, I want to wake up the next day like with my hands and legs intact. I don't want to be shot because that just means like who knows my.
See, straight off the bat,
street
there is that sort of self-editing that's going on. You're like, it's a funny joke. Do I want to do this?
no.
And do I want to do this here? Will I get? Will
So
they
my
say
answer to
this?
that is those kind of things I would do for stage. Where like currently I'm doing a joke which I know will get me into trouble. Like I know for a fact will get me into trouble, but I'm still doing it on stage.
Good. So everybody watching, Neville's doing a few shows in Bombay soon. So
Delhi also,
please.
but whatever, doesn't matter.
The dates are time.
So,
Get your tickets
so the
back.
thing is, for me, I don't think it matters in terms of if the joke is funny, if the joke is in good taste. I think that's slightly important, and that taste is a subjective call. I'm not saying it's a collective call. If it's in good taste, if I think it's funny, if I can defend it, and if it's genuinely funny, I will do the joke.
Like, I'll give you an example, Rajiv.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
there's this show called The Great Indian Comedy Show. It's a
called-
show.
okay.
Yeah. And it's been there for quite some time. Then
Okay.
it sort of went off air and came back. And didn't do well this time around.
It did
But there
not.
was one
Okay.
specific set by this guy who could impersonate Modi really well.
And it's all stand up. Like
Yeah, stand up.
Okay.
And one of my friends was also writing for that show. He wrote this bit.
Okay.
And it was a really funny bit. So this guy is imitating Modi and he's doing jokes talking like
As
Modi.
Modi.
Hilarious set. Like if you watch it, it's damn funny.
Okay.
Nowhere to be seen.
It got pulled down.
Yes.
Okay. Censored.
So if you're telling me you can say anything you want, why the hell is that joke not there? And it's really, really funny.
and the audience was
And
laughing.
everybody's laughing. I couldn't stop myself. Like I was laughing.
Okay.
So if you can talk about anything and you can say anything, then why is that joke not there?
Then
Oh,
clearly
no,
you
I'm
can't,
saying,
yeah.
can you do it? I can do it on stage. I will continue to do it on stage. Now, if I get into trouble or if things get slightly outside and get censored, then that you're victim of.
I think
Pryor went to jail some 50 times.
Yeah, but guys, it all.
Wait, who went to jail?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Prior, yeah.
There's a show on Amazon Prime right now called The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel,
Maisel.
and
Superb
I saw the
Maisel,
pilot
yeah.
last
Superb
night,
Maisel.
and I loved it. Like,
It's a great show.
And in the pilot, I don't want to give you guys a spoiler, but I will right now, unfortunately. so skip 30 seconds.
She dies at the end.
She takes her top off.
On stage.
Yeah,
Oh,
on
this is
stage.
that stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
Great
and
show.
the
Upper
cops
West
come
Side.
and arrest her for public
And in the second abuse, continue for 30 seconds more. In the second thing, she gives a gali on stage, and
They again take her off.
She again gets.
So
arrested.
what happened? I think in America, if you just want to do America versus India, is the comedians who went on stage, they fought for their right to say these things. The Carlins and the Pryors, they fought for the. I
Bruce,
want to say
sure.
it. And so guys, so Rajiv in a sense is lucky in a sense that he's got these generations of comedians who have gone to jail,
Sure,
who've
absolutely.
been through this shit. We don't. Who amongst our generation has been to jail? Tanmay has been on the news. It's not happened yet. The revolution. I know comedy was niche till like 2013-14, right?
Yeah.
2014 elections happened and comedy became mainstream. The roast happened, comedy became mainstream.
Yeah.
And once it becomes mainstream, you're going to get mainstream problems.
No, but also you have to understand that when Pryor, Carlin, those guys went to jail, right? When they consistently went to jail for doing bits, the news was very small. It wasn't possible to get on a revolution. Like, you didn't affect an entire nation till you read it the next day in the paper, and it was one.
So people in the scene knew. But here's the thing:
Yeah,
the
that's
key difference is when Pryor or Carlin went to jail, there was a court of contracts are enforced in America. Like, there's a constitution, right? The freedom of speech, and you can use that to your advantage. But in India, I mean, the law is ridiculous. It's ambiguous. It's literally it's confusing. Our constitution says that we are a secular country, but we don't behave like that. And people today, the nationalists today, will come out and say, "Who said we're secular?" I didn't put that
in
word
the
in.
preamble to our constitution. It's there.
They want to change
but
it.
also, our freedom of speech is not absolute freedom of speech. In America, it is in the constitution. It is absolute freedom of speech.
Right.
We have 8 exceptions to the freedom of speech.
Right.
Thing 8 exceptions.
Yeah.
That's a lot of exceptions.
What's an example
Inciting
of
violence.
Okay, well that you can't do in the States theater. You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. Or yell
religious sentiment. So I can't make fun of Jesus, even though we're not a Christian country here. I can't make fun of.
we can there.
Yeah,
Obviously.
you can. There's in public figures, for example. So defamation is a problem here. So anything you say against anybody can be a defamation suit. Anything.
I'll
Yeah,
tell you the
that's
exact
pretty
date.
serious.
I'll
That's
tell
a very
you the
big
exact
difference.
date.
But
Yeah.
Rajiv, what about you? Like, if I were to ask you, how do you start writing your jokes? Like how we're keeping these things in mind. If I do this joke, I can't do it at this place, or I can't do it in this city. Do you do that as well? Like,
I don't.
Is there any
because
sort of self-censorship?
I think that the tone changes, right? So sometimes if I'm talking to like fellow Desi audience or something like that, I'll have more of a you know what I mean tone.
Huh.
Whereas if I'm explaining Indians to white people or to
Right.
black people, then it's more explanatory. Hopefully not in a professorial way where you
Right.
feel like you're like teaching a classroom. You don't want to feel like that.
Right.
That's not very cool. But if you are sort of like the tone changes, but I'm still me. Like there's a stupid quote that is actually quite profound. That's like, no matter wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is so
Yeah.
stupid? Like, what does that mean? But what it means is it doesn't matter if you're in London or if you're in Australia, or if you're in Zimbabwe, you're still you.
Yeah.
And so my set has always been very autobiographical. It's always been very
Right.
personal. So it doesn't really matter. Like if they get it or they don't get it, the jokes are still from me. So hopefully the jokes they say that which is most personal is most general.
Yeah.
So if you go within yourself, and it's great to be observational, but if
Yeah.
you're introspective, then I feel like I'm teaching a classroom.
Do you?
No, that's very good. That's very
That's how it
insightful.
sort of works. So for me also, I sort of work on the same premise, right? Like I start with a personal story that's funny in my head, or may not be funny. Like I did a bit about my mom's death in my Amazon special, right? And it may not instinctively be funny, but in retrospect, there are things that are funny. So you start with a personal experience, and then you start embellishing wherever you need to sort of amp it up a little bit. But the way I do it is I don't sit on a computer and write. The first thing I do is I take a premise on stage and I just float with it. Like I free speech for whatever 5-7 minutes that I have. I get somewhere, then I have some structure. At least I have a start, a beginning, middle, and end.
Sure.
I have that sort of arc, and then I'm like, okay, fine. Then I do the bit. like as I've planned it. I do the bit and then I finally put it on paper.
Let's get your this on it. When you started off,
Yeah.
So you're obviously you're born and brought up in the US, right?
Yeah.
So at what point did you decide that you wanted to do comedy?
I mean, I think that question can be broken into like, when did you know you were funny? When did you try it for the first time? All that.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't really a consumer of stand-up, and I'm still not really. I watch it every now and then, but it's got to be like really top shelf, like Dave Chappelle or some of the greats, But I don't watch every special that comes out.
Right.
And I probably should, but I like stuff with an arc. You were talking about like a BME, a beginning, middle, end. I like to watch narrative. It's even though I don't really write narrative, I like to watch it. So it's just like dirty stuff. I love watch. I work clean, but I love watching dirty stuff. So I don't watch what I do for whatever reason. Like stand-up wise, I'm just like, oh, such and such a special is out. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I may get to it or may not.
Yeah.
But Jerry before Seinfeld, I'm going to watch that. Chris Rock, I'm going to watch that. I'm going to watch the greats, But I started doing it on the side when I worked at Procter & Gamble, and then I turned 30 and I flipped out. I was like, well, I've been in Ohio my whole life, and I went to California and I started doing it full time. So,
Well, so
that was 12
you
years
were
ago.
actually at working at Procter & Gamble before
Yeah.
that. So you decided to take the plunge after you were 30.
Yeah, when I turned 30. I'd been working at P&G at that point, I think 6 years. So yeah, I've been doing it on the side for 4. Yeah, I forget the years. But yeah, basically that was it. And that was the catalyst. Like turning 30 was really hard for me. It was a life-changing,
Do you
like,
think-
what am I going to do with my life kind of
It's a
thing.
personal question, but do you think, and this is a question that people keep asking me, like, how much money do you think monetarily, if you had continued with your corporate career and versus what you do now, you think you'd been in the same situation or you'd been better off, or what do you?
Oh, I know for sure I would have made a lot more money if I would have just stayed there.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Okay.
no question. Like
Okay.
you have to make. I mean, at P&G and companies like that in America at that time, especially. I mean, I know some of my higher ups are making $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year living in Cincinnati. Like that's a lot of money. I mean, in Cincinnati, you can live like a king for that. You can live like you do here, like with servants and stuff like that, right? So you have to work that hard in America to have what you have
Yeah.
here. But you would be balling hard. And I mean, be set for retirement and benefits. No, to do that in comedy, because after taxes and everything, you probably have to make like at least $800,000 or $900K. That's a lot, dude. Like making $1 million a year from stand-up, that's hard.
That's a lot, yeah.
I'd say probably only in America, probably only 15 people do that. Like that's really hard.
But I want to ask you, because you have the strangest process of writing jokes.
Yeah, we didn't ask you.
His
Sorry. This is your
process.
question.
I've seen his process from the start.
weird, dude.
I never understood it.
I've never understood.
But there's
your
no
pro-
process.
No,
That's my point.
His
Like-
process was this. Okay, I remember first time we used to jam. There was a lane we used to hang out at. He used to jam. He would write his entire set on his phone,
Yeah.
right? And
He still does it.
No. But the thing is, and he would rutto it. He would remember it word for word,
Oh, wow.
verbatim, without like.
Yeah, and he makes
without
it
fail.
delivery like he's discovering it on stage.
I know,
which
but
is
but then once the line has been figured out, it will never change. It
Yeah.
is he performs it again and again and again. Gets a laugh.
Wow.
I'm not saying he's not
Yeah,
getting a
yeah.
laugh, but it's sort of this rigidity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the word finally. But I used to kind of write the premises and I know kind of in my head what the punchlines are, and I would just sort of
Figure out a way.
We are the figure
But
outers,
you know,
right? He's the writer.
You know, for 7th year now, I've still never written my set out entirely. It's so
All bits and
you'll just see like bullet points. So if I'm talking about
But that's my thing.
So thup, thup,
Like,
thup.
I remember he came to
do
a
the
gig-
joke here, and once I have said it, I need to say it on stage once.
Yeah.
Once I say it on stage once, it stays in my head.
Oh,
But
that's
you need to
good.
stay it on stage once till it's funny.
Till it's funny, yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, you'll see me
You'll
sort
keep,
of
like,
fumbling,
meandering
trying,
and trying
yeah,
to
But
get
you
the
don't
joke,
change but if you don't change the words, so you're just changing the tone and the inflection and the speed.
Oh, no, he changes the words till
Oh,
he
you do?
finds
No,
it
yeah,
funny.
you do change
Till I
it.
find that one line that works, and once that
From a
line
meter
works,
standpoint, he sort of nails it.
Oh, okay.
and
got
that
it.
line he gets it pretty quick. So let's say third try, but then the next 150 shows, that
Oh my
line is
God.
not changing.
I have seen this guy. I have seen him talk to a light. I've just seen him perform to a light.
And the thing about him
because
is,
so all the years of doing corporate shows where
Yeah, the precision.
you're not. So I'm not going there to impress anybody because I am. So like I'll give you an example of how corporate shows are happening. Obviously, you're
you
doing,
know he knows that.
But
actually.
when I did a show 2 weeks back where they specifically told me no religion, no Modi jokes, and no jokes on GST.
on GST.
You know what I mean? So it's Modi, I understand. Religion,
Yeah.
I understand. No jokes on GST.
Sex and all, they're okay with.
How specific? Now, obviously, that
What
they
is
don't
it?
even say anymore. because they just-
accounting company or what? What is
no, I won't take the name because the check is not clear.
what
yet.
genre?
But
What genre of the company?
It's a MNC, but still not enough that GST would be an issue. Why would you tell me not to do a joke on GST? Like saying, It's almost like, okay, don't do jokes on bananas.
Like you've had some trouble with bananas in the past.
Yeah, you don't do any of those.
Yeah.
You didn't create GST.
Maybe,
You're
but you're still not answering the question, because I've seen you walk up to a Naya Mal night.
Yeah.
Okay, where you are like, fuck baak, kuch nahi likha hai.
Haan.
Right. And then you went up on stage with those 2 points. One was that plane, something, okay, which you had. But then there was this whole like 6-minute bit where you were sort of bombing also.
Yeah.
Like, you were sort of combination. Yeah, it was a combination of things. But you've got that set now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you've got that set. It's now not 6 minutes, it's 4 minutes or
Yeah.
whatever. But so like you never write the joke?
Very, very seldom.
So
Do I
what I
physically write a joke? That's my problem, because a lot of times when I'm performing at auditorium, my manager will call, she's like, okay, the auditorium needs to see your script because they have to give a censor certificate. I'm like, what do I give them? If I show them what's on my notes, they won't be able to figure out shit. Baba Ramdev, banana, dick. And now I know the sentence.
But those are all the same thing.
Yeah.
The set is called My Exes.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, I can't explain to them, but it's clear in my head,
Yeah,
and
in
I'll
your
do
head.
it on stage.
And it'll
it's
work.
You
it's
know,
always worked like that. for me.
It's
I've
so
never
funny
been-
because we used to do improv and they used to ask for a script for the improv show.
I have written one. I have written one and sent it.
You
just
know,
for
the
interactions.
country is in the nascent stage
Yeah.
of comedy.
That's
Like, hey,
what
can we get a-
yeah. When they ask for
And
that.
we said it's not like we gave it right away, right? We told them, listen, it's improvised, so
Right.
we don't know what. But what does that mean?
Right.
See,
Give
they
us a
never
script.
bothered to look up what improvise meant.
And so we just sent a script which was basically introducing the show, getting some like interactions going of like, hey, what does this mean? What does this mean?
That's amazing.
And that's it. That's all we sent.
Neville is going to tell us, finally, he's done his research on what the 8 exceptions
No,
are.
just so that because it's law. So the restrictions under Indian law.
Wait, give him context. These are the 8 exceptions to free speech in India.
So we're talking about, the question was, yeah, exactly, like how free is the speech here?
Right.
He's saying, well, it's free except for these eight
These
things.
and it's and I'm reading law. So it says under Indian law, the freedom of speech and a lot of press. Here are the 8 exceptions: security of state, friendly relations with foreign states, public order, decency and morality, which is super vague, and I'll read this thing: contempt of court, defamation, incitement to an offence. And the sovereignty and integrity of India. So I'm going to read what decency and morality
Wait,
according
before you do, I think that's pretty explain itself. But I think the threat that the Karni Sena did, that they'll cut off Deepika's nose. I think there's 4 of them that I feel that are being hit on.
Yeah.
Nobody did anything, by the way.
Yeah.
But a comedian makes a joke.
Yeah, and you get fucked.
Yeah. The landlord will kick you out of the house now, it seems.
Yeah. Dude,
So,
what the fuck?
so decency and morality, the way they've defined it, is saying the word obscenity is identical with the word indecency of the Indian Constitution. In an English case of R.V. Hicklin, the test was laid down according to which it seemed whether the tendency of the matter charged as obscene tend to deprave and corrupt the minds which are open to such immoral influences.
Wow.
This test was upheld by the Supreme Court. In this case, the court upheld the conviction of a bookseller who was prosecuted under Section 292 of the IPC for selling and keeping the book Lady Chatelet's Lover. The standard of morality varies from time to time and from place to place.
Okay, so what that means in the U.S. Supreme Court, I forget which justice said it, but they asked him to define pornography. And he said, I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. It's one of these great, very ambiguous, but it's hard to argue with. Like, we kind of all know what you mean. Like, what is obscene, what is profane? Of course, there's a gray area, and then it goes back and forth. But that is very vague. That's very
and
broad,
that's
very
why
gray.
that's why our parents are constantly scared that someone's going to knock on our door and just drag us out because we said something that we thought was
about
harmless.
denims, and that is an issue.
No,
for
because they've
GST.
all because they've all kept it really vague, like across the board. Even security of state, reasonable restrictions can be imposed on the freedom of speech and expression in the interest of the security of the state. All the utterances intended to endanger the security of the state by crimes of violence, intended to overthrow the government, which in a democracy you should be allowed to talk about, waging of war and rebellion against the government, external aggression or war, etc., may be restrained in the interest of the security of the state. It does not refer to the ordinary breaches of public order which did not involve any danger to the state. So they've given a subsection for that as well.
Okay.
No, but so nowhere does it say that I can't make fun of the prime minister.
Felt like I was in my civics class in school.
Right, exactly. Like, I don't know how it didn't make sense.
Being
to
a classroom. Well, defamation, though, I guess.
Okay, no. So guess what? There is an exception to defamation. There are parody laws, which is not mentioned here. So if you're doing something that's a parody, like for example, Cyrus Barocha does a show called The Week That Wasn't.
Yeah.
Right? He makes fun of things. Now, that show is actually protected under these laws.
Not
Okay.
entirely.
No, not entirely, but a lot more than if. Now, this is weird, okay? That show comes on a news channel. Now, if that show came on an entertainment channel,
Because it comes on a news channel.
he is screwed. Because it's so vague and it's so weird. Because it's on a news platform, he can do this parody and say, hey guys, this is a parody. Now, it doesn't mean anything. But if he did it on Star World or Z Cafe,
Or even on YouTube.
no, YouTube will be fine.
No, you'd be fine to put it out, but it would still get spread, and people would be like, "Hey."
No,
blah, blah, blah.
also on Week That Wasn't, for example, it's the way he would if he still did a defamatory joke, he would still be in trouble.
Right.
So defamation without proof you can't accuse.
And
That's the point.
I think the we did. I don't know if you know about this. There was a roast like 3 years ago. AIB roast.
Yeah, that was
now, what's interesting about the roast is what are the cases filed against them, and what type of cases against what codes. So the most interesting was conspiracy to commit crime. The fact that the case put against them, and I know the person who put it. She's a crazy woman who calls herself an activist, which I think is the most stupid title you can give yourself. It means nothing. Activist means I don't know what, but she says she believes these people got into a room and said we are going to break these laws, and this is how we're going to break it. And they conspired, and she put Deepika and Sonakshi in that lawsuit as well. So she's saying these people who came and participated willingly were a part of a conspiracy.
co-conspirators.
Yes, and this is a crime. This is also a crime, by the way. So not only are you like freedom of speech, but the idea that I'm going to go and give this speech also is a crime now. The thought I've had this
Premeditated.
thought, yeah. So and it is. So there's a thing about decency for women. Okay, where you cannot make women are protected by law. Where you cannot make fun of women.
You can rape them, but you can't make fun of them.
You can rape them.
Okay.
That seems to me
So we have to
fine.
cut that out.
Yeah. No, not to cut that out because that's the reality of this country. Women are every day I open the newspaper and I'm like, oh my god. And you know the guy, nothing's going to happen to the guy. There are cases where women have been. There's this brilliant article in the New York Times about India. It's called "How to Get Away with Murder in Small Town India." Please read it if you haven't. It's such a great article. It tells you about basically a woman suddenly disappears in a village, and the author of this article is looking for her. She's gone. She's dead. And she's been replaced by another woman in the same house who's wearing her jewelry and her clothes and is very happy. And she's like, where did this woman go? Oh, she fell and hurt her head. What had happened was the husband killed her.
Whoa.
Nothing happened to him. Why? Because the husband is a part of a community that's 50% of that village. So the guy who's the political head of that village wants to make sure the vote for the next election stays intact.
Jeez.
So it goes down to a level where I think the problem with all of this is that we as Indians don't like to be criticized, but we don't like to be honest either. We can't be honest with ourselves. And when someone decides to show a mirror to ourselves, we get fucking angst.
Angry.
We get angst. I have people in my family who are huge supporters of the nationalist movement. They say, you know what, Modi's the only guy who can fix this problem. There's no other solution. That's where they come from. And I get it, because everything else sucks so much. But the moment I say something like, how come we never talk about child labor or slavery? Child slavery is a big thing. Or the sex, sort of the racket.
Trafficking.
Yeah. We don't talk about that in mainstream news anymore. We just talk about Mandir banayenge. We just talk about the Muslims.
Well, it's like Trump then. That's exactly the same.
Right.
It's the same thing everywhere almost. Right? Like
Yeah,
every-
because... Well, go ahead.
But my final point is that when a comedian comes on stage and tries to address these issues,
Right.
suddenly there's a target on his or her head.
Because with stand-up, I think that there's still a sense that we mean it, right? Like it's the honest medium of a parody being a little bit different where you're just going for the joke.
Yeah.
I think the stand-up comic is going for the joke, but I think that the conviction with which we're saying it,
Yeah.
kind of like, this guy means it, which we do.
Yeah.
Like it's hard
Because it's
to...
based in truth, right?
It's based in truth.
Yeah.
In this country, I mean, and comedians like Colbeck and go out every night.
No,
and
but
yeah.
make
that's
fun
what
of
they're
him.
doing, right?
Totally.
Like, I want to bring the conversation around
Totally.
Trump through that. Like, all the late night shows.
Yeah.
I mean, I think more about American politics than I know about that because the amount of freedom these guys have in writing, the material that they do, makes it such an interesting watch because you're laughing and you're understanding. And they go to town on Trump in every single episode.
Every night.
They call him a dick.
Every night.
They call him a dick. I was watching Colbert and Seth Meyers' show. They both had very similar jokes on the same topic.
Yeah.
And they both called him a dick.
Yeah.
Long story
Effectively,
short.
yeah.
Effectively.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I would love to have 1/10 of this.
But John Oliver, for example, is actually putting ads on Fox News to explain to Trump about the various policies that he should or should not sort of stand for. So I'm saying those kind of things happen. Like when I was at MTV, we did Rock the Vote. we did Rock the Vote, and we tried to write sketches, and it was a story. It was a sketch show about politics and stuff. And the first thing we were told was you can't name politicians.
Oh wow!
Despite taking their clips, which are verbatim stuff that they
You know,
say.
so
I'm gonna have
you're
a
not even
video
making it
clip,
up.
And
a
it's
video clip of a guy saying it ad lib with like ambient sound, which is absolutely true, taken from raw
and
news footage.
But you couldn't
Can't
say his
use
name.
it.
No,
No, I couldn't do the joke.
You couldn't even play it.
couldn't
You
do
couldn't
the joke.
We had to take it out.
Wow.
Couldn't do the joke.
And that's the thing, like,
Wow.
again, because it all boils down to those contracts, right? Like an MTV, like a Viacom, which was MTV, versus like a HBO. HBO takes a stance. Okay, John, Oliver, we're going to support you. If you get sued, we will take care of. There's a particular stance. They back their people because they know the rule of law there. What is Viacom going to? Viacom is a big company with a lot of money, and MTV is Viacom. What are they going to do? They get sued. They're suddenly screwed.
No, but you look at the vested interests, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
currently,
Yeah.
Reliance owns a lot of Viacom.
Yeah.
So
And also the country.
yeah, so which is why the laws are for. But so there's several other reasons why things don't sort of work out. But if you look at the same HBO model, it's still owned by Time Warner, which has public figure. I mean, it has a public-facing company, which therefore doesn't have.
But it's a constitution. It's
Yeah.
we have freedom of speech and we can say these things. In this country, like you said, we have all these caveats in our own freedom of speech, right? And it's ambiguous.
HBO is a non-advertiser funded channel. So as a
That's a lot of
result,
it. That's a lot of it.
I don't
Statement.
need ads on my channel at all.
Yeah.
And so I can do whatever the fuck I want. And which is why even though it's owned by a news entity that needs ads on its network, that channel sort of stays.
But even in this country, the subscriber-based OTT platforms, I won't obviously take names, but we've all worked on them. And Rajiv, I'll tell you what, they give us these, okay, we want comedy content from you guys, but no religion, no attacking the country, and no Modi. That has to be out of the...
So for me, the only one I've heard consistently is no Modi.
Yeah.
I mean, for OTT platforms.
So what happens?
No,
if
we've
you
heard
do
it
You
so
get an
much.
FIR file? Is that what
I
happens?
mean, the thing is, we've heard it
They
so
just
much now
won't
it's
air
become
it.
a joke.
No, but what if you do it in a comedy club? You go on stage tonight.
No,
and
you can
say
do
nothing.
it. You can do it. Like what I meant to say earlier is a lot of people don't do it at certain places. If you know that, if I probably did a Modi joke here, I would get into trouble.
In fact, I would
With the
rather
law.
do it in America.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily law.
It's
just
never really law,
It's
is
never
it?
law.
Wait, Rajiv,
No, but in America it's not either. Like Kathy Griffin held up the severed head of Donald Trump, but even I thought that was too far.
Yeah.
But I was like, if you held up a severed head of Modi, I don't know what would happen to you.
you disappear.
Oh,
probably.
yeah.
You'd probably disappear.
Okay, so
yeah.
guys, so
Yeah.
we should pretty wrap
Like
this
as
up
a
pretty quick.
person, not just a comedian,
Yeah.
but you'd be a human being. You'd be
So
caught.
we should wrap this up. And I was just thinking, like, we've talked about this India versus this sort of difference. What would it take for guys like you, who are Indian in a sense, you know kind of what's going on here, to start creating that kind of content that we all crave for about our own country here.
But there, over there,
Yeah, but
over there.
So I asked this question. I said, so somebody said, do not make fun of Modi when you're here. I go, can I do it when I go back? They said, no, they'll get you there too. I go, well, who's they? They said Modi supporters will.
Yeah.
No, that's
They
on-
said they'll
that-
come after
No,
you
so-
wherever you are.
But sometimes I
Which
tend
Trump
to think,
supporters are kinda like that too.
But I sometimes think that Modi supporters outside the country are far more Modi loyal than Modi supporters in the country.
But
because
even
you have
NRIs. The whole thing about being an NRI is I love India. I just want to stay in India.
Yeah.
That
Yeah, of course.
They go abroad and they become so Indian.
Yeah, they're stupid.
And
I know a lot of them, and it's just
Yeah.
it's dumb. Like they're just, no, it's
Bridge,
dumb.
we're talking about you.
Yeah, it's just like if you love it that much, like I love it, but I don't have any. Like I met my friend last night, and she speaks Hindi, she speaks Gujarati. She we spent time here, but she's like, you seem more connected to India than I am. She goes, I could never live here. And I'm like, oh, I think I probably could for at least a while. She goes, oh, I couldn't do it at all. I go, is it a man-woman thing, And she goes, maybe it's some of that, but she's just like, it just seems like you have more of a, and I feel that with the audiences this time. In 2015, I felt like it was drifting a little, but this time I feel like it's stronger than ever. And she's like, how do you explain that? I go, I don't know. The same way I explained the I Am Indian video. Like it has 50 million views or some crazy thing, not all on YouTube, obviously, but get that plug in. But the idea being that my parents are still astounded. They're like, you don't even speak Hindi. Like, you're born in Ohio. How did you pull this video? Like, where did it come from? And I was like, I don't know. I just pulled it out of my soul. I mean, it just... Atman or so, whatever it is, it just like came out, right? But it's just the way it is. But like there is a connection point. But would I live here? Well, no, but I also wouldn't live most places in America. I would live in Los Angeles. I don't even want to live outside of LA. So that's not an insult to India.
Not even New York?
No, no, I wouldn't live in New York.
No?
What?
No, absolutely not. No, it's too dirty, it's too much work, it's hard living, it's just no. I
I'd
wouldn't live
pick
there.
New York
Absolutely
over
not.
Yeah,
LA.
I pick New York over LA.
No, not live in both places for 6 months,
And
you
then
will-
I've done
you'll change your
I've done
mind.
6 months in New York. I've not done 6 months in LA.
Do 6 months in LA and you will not not go back to New York.
I can't fucking drive.
Okay, you know what?
All right, let's wrap it up.
When we're in LA next time, we'll hit you up. All right.
Hey, you got a place to stay anytime, man. Anytime.
Awesome.
All right,
Come on
great.
out.
So that was it
Absolutely.
from this episode of The Big Question
From
with
Karan
SnG.
and Karan?
From both the Karans,
That's right.
Raghu Rajiv Satyal. That
We're
was
different
it.
people, damn it.
Do taklus.
Yeah. So I hope you guys had fun watching it. Hope it was insightful. And thank you so much, Rajiv.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. I had a great time.
Good luck,
go check out
Good
his
luck on
shows.
Karan, thank you very much.
If you're,
Appreciate it, brother.
I mean, I think by the time,
I'm leaving the
by the time the episode comes out, your tour will have gotten over. But in case it doesn't, go check him out. If you're ever in the US, go check him out. He's at
funnyindian.com.
Funny
the audacity
Indian.
for someone to take funnyindian.com.
Hey,
I still love
it's
it.
funny.
I thought that was Modi's website.
All right. On that note,
That note.
we will slide
right.
into the shadows.
See you guys. Thank you.